Many people find it hard to accept a few people could orchestrate a whole global pandemic hoax. But in fact, when we understand the structure of how the world's controlled, it becomes relatively straightforward. I've talked for decades about a global cult, what some call the 1%, a global web of interconnected strands of secret societies, semi-secret groups, and then in the public arena, government agencies. And all of these groups appear on the surface to be unconnected. They aren't. You can symbolize the way this global web works as the structure of a global corporation. Say McDonald's with a headquarters at a point in the world, and in every other country you have the subsidiaries that operate according to the centrally dictated headquarters. And so you go into a McDonald's in Russia, South Africa, Australia, America, Britain, and you're basically going into the same McDonald's operating in the same way. And this global cult structures itself in very similar lines. At the center of the web, and this is in the shadows, you have what I call the spider. This is the inner core of the cult that is driving the direction of the world. And then in each country, they have a subsidiary network, certain families and secret societies. Their job is to impose the will of the center, the spider, dictating policy in virtually every country. And in each of these subsidiary networks on a national level, you have the pyramids of government and politics, banking and finance, pyramids of media ownership, and the pyramids of the medical system. So if you take health policy, the few at the top in each country are dictating how doctors and the rest of the medical profession have to act, what they have to do. The medical profession then follow overwhelmingly, unquestioningly. And those who do question and resist find themselves and their careers in often serious trouble. And the top of these pyramids in each country answer to the same master globally, the spider. And therefore the will of the spider is dictating what the policy will be right across the world. Just the people at the top impose it upon the pyramid structure in its entirety. So if we look globally at this pandemic, first of all, so important, forget borders. This cult does not have borders. They are for the public. This cult is global and operates globally. And one of its biggest centers is China. The cult was behind the Chairman Mao revolution that turned China into this fascistic, communistic, they're the same thing really, tyranny. And what they've done behind the walls of that tyranny is incubate a system that they want to play out globally. China has become a fiercely controlled country, not least controlled via technology, with millions and millions of face recognition cameras which allow the Chinese authorities to find anyone, often literally in minutes, in real time. In the West, until now, they've had to pay some lip service to freedom and democracy. Only in theory, but they have to, or have up to this point, have to hide behind that propaganda. So the West has been able to move, until now, slower than China in terms of rolling out this fierce, draconian, Orwellian, fascistic control system. But in China, the authorities decide what's going to happen, and it just happens. There's no democracy or lip service to freedom to have to deal with. And so in China, it's moved very, very much faster. And the time has come where the cult wants to play out the Chinese model of control right across the world. Ask yourself, what has the West become far more like since this pandemic hoax? China, and becoming more so all the time. So this is how the pandemic, or what has become known as the plandemic, was played out. First of all, you have people taken ill in Wuhan, China. And people ill in Wuhan is extraordinarily common, given that Wuhan has appalling toxic air, which generates a lot of respiratory problems. And so when these first people started showing symptoms of illness, a handful of them were tested, and they took lung fluid and decided it was caused by a virus. But they never isolated and purified it in and of itself without any other contamination or genetic material. Now, if you're going to prove that a virus exists, and you're going to prove that that virus causes an alleged infectious disease, then purification and isolation of that viral material is an absolute solid gold foundation must do. It's never been done. What you then had in those early days was COVID-19 being diagnosed on symptoms. And what were the symptoms? Flu-like symptoms. Flu-like symptoms, respiratory symptoms,